I'm Mike Merson, the director of the Global Health Institute. I want to welcome all of you here today. I have been working in academics for more than 20 years, and I have no problem saying that the happiest day is a commencement day. I'm sure you all agree. I'd like to really welcome so many families and friends. You've traveled from far away. I met some of you already from Singapore, Tanzania, and I met a colleague, I don't want to embarrass him, who I worked with in 1985 in Bangladesh. That's never happened to me at a commencement ceremony. I am going to be brief. I first, though, want to recognize our faculty that are here today. They're seated over here, and I'd like them to stand so you can recognize them. They have a lot to do with the mentoring and education of our students here. So can I ask you to stand? It's always nice to see this is the only time of year where the students clap for the faculty. And we're happy you did that. So you are 60 in number, class of 2017, and we all welcome you to this ceremony. 12 of you are graduating with distinction, and in fact, that's the most we've had in any class. And one of our astute parents pointed out to me that you are the first class to arrive at Duke with the global health major already established. So you are the fourth class. When you came, the major had been here for 3 years, and that probably accounts for why we have so many of you, and we're really happy about that. Student interest in global health across this country has really been the leading force to the growth of the field in university after university. This is not surprising. Global health addresses many of the challenges of our increasing complex, interconnected world, from pandemics and global security to maternal and child health, to chronic diseases like high blood pressure and cancer, to air pollution and climate change, and I can go on and on. Our students know better than I now what are the hot topics of the day. I simply want to say to our graduates that global health, you have learned, is exciting and challenging. It can be a little frustrating, but it's often fulfilling. But I'll say to all of you that you have a potential with the knowledge you now have and the experience you now have to make a meaningful impact in the world. And we need you now more than ever. That I know. And certainly I personally wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Let me say to all of you here today that at the conclusion of the ceremony, please join us for a reception. Some of you I know will have to go to baccalaureate, but we should have some time. Just outside the back doors, those doors will lift up again. I should also tell all of you and your sons and daughters and help you that you can, on an institute newsletter that comes out this Tuesday, you'll find a link to the photographs that have been taken today. So if you don't get quite the picture you want, hopefully you'll be able to get it from the website. So my last task is to welcome David Toole to the podium. David is our Director of Undergraduate Studies in Global Health, and he's going to share his reflections on this year's class and their future. Let me welcome you all to Duke.
Thank you, Mike. I wanted to start, before I start my remarks, this is the only chance in a year where I have an opportunity to thank some people publicly that are essential, and by essential, I mean essential to the program, so I'm going to ask them to stand. So if Laura, Lisa, Elisa, Kara, and Natalia, can you all stand? And stay up for a second so people can see you. There's one. Did I miss anybody? There's Lisa, okay. So these are the 5 folks that when it comes to the undergraduate major, really we seriously couldn't do it without them. We, as you probably know, are a major that requires students to co-major in something else. We're the only major at Duke that requires that. And in this class right here, we have 18 different co-majors that they've paired with global health. And to negotiate Duke's curriculum in terms of sort of general education requirements, plus global health, plus another major, plus the certificates and the minors and the pre-health plans, et cetera, et cetera. It takes a lot of work, plus the experiential learning that we require them to do, about which I'm going to say more in a minute. So thanks to all you. So let me join Mike in welcoming all of you today, and particularly you parents who I know have traveled from near and far to be here and to recognize the accomplishment of your daughters and sons. And I just have a few minutes to tell you about what these graduates have done and accomplished. And I want to do that by focusing on something that's not going to show up on their diploma or their CV or their transcripts, but is at the core of what it means for them to be graduates with a major in global health. Not to keep you in suspense, let me tell you up front what may be their greatest accomplishment. And that is to have learned the virtue of doing nothing. That's right, nothing. An expensive degree from Duke with a major in global health. And what they have to show for it is that they have acquired the virtue of doing nothing. Perhaps I should explain. So a few weeks ago, I had a conversation with a parent at the Global Health table at Blue Devil Days. Some of you parents and students will remember when you were prospective students and you showed up at Blue Devil Days to decide if Duke was the right place for you. So a young lady and her mother show up at the table. The prospective student immediately gravitates toward another student, our global health major, Sophia, in fact, who was at the table with me, who you'll hear from in a minute. And Sophia and the prospective student are engaged in a lively conversation about what it might mean to major in global health. And the mother sidles up to me and says sort of quietly, "She wants to save the world." And I replied, "Of course she does. They all do." And then she said, "I have tried to tell her that that is impossible, that across a whole lifetime she will, at best, be able only to make very small changes, and the world will go on as it always has, but she doesn't listen to me." When I have told others of this exchange, including my wife just last night, they react strongly against the mother's pessimism. But the fact is that as faculty and staff introducing students to global health, we say something quite similar. We just deliver the message a little differently. We don't tell students they can't save the world. Instead, we send them out into the world they want to save. We call this sending out an experiential learning activity, ELA for short. It is a requirement for global health majors, and it usually means that students spend at least 8 weeks out in the field working on a research or service project, or perhaps as an intern. The graduates sitting here this afternoon have done this in 17 different countries in 11 different states. At the end of this experience, students fill out a report about what transpired. Faculty and staff read these reports, and then we gather the students together in small groups and we debrief their experience. So the whole exercise works something like this. A student comes to us and says, "I want to major in global health because I want to save the world." We say, "Great, but first you have to take an ethics class so that in trying to save the world, you don't make things worse." After the class, the student says, "Okay, now I see that saving the world is more complicated than I thought. Still, I want to go save the world." We say, "Fine, go here, do this, and when you come back, let's talk." And what do these students say when they come back? To answer that question, focusing on only 2 sections of the report we asked students to complete, I took 178 single-spaced pages of excerpts from the reports of the past 4 years, and I fed them into a word cloud generator. And that's what you see. For those of you who don't know what a word cloud generator is, you just put a bunch of words into some program and it highlights the words that are used the most frequently. Now, that's what I got back, and you'll see these words that are dominant: challenge, ethical, health, community, and faced. And that's not surprising, since we are usually sending these people into communities to work on health issues, and they are now responding in a report where we've set up the questions to ask them about ethical challenges and other challenges that they faced. So these words come back to us. So I removed those words and ran the word cloud again. And this time it looked like that. Now the dominant word is time, followed closely by people, work, and difficult. There are lots of ways to connect these words together to represent students' experiences, but a simple summary goes something like this. We send students out into the world, and students discovered that the world is full of people, that people are difficult, and that saving the world is work that takes time. Students' reports are full of statements like these, and I am quoting. I had to learn the lesson of how important it was that I not fall into the trap of thinking I could solve all of a country's problems in one summer. A big challenge you gotta just love, absolutely love these students, right? I mean, it's incredible. A big challenge I faced was the desire to start many projects at once, yet not having the time and materials to do so. The work was difficult. There was no instant gratification. This taught me that not all outcomes happen immediately. The process of reintroducing ourselves, our program, and our research to what was an unforeseen time investment. Conversations took longer than expected. The process required patience. I could go on and on and on. It is 178 single-space pages. But instead, let me tell you two brief stories about this unforeseen time investment. One of our graduates from last year went to Peru to teach health education in a primary school. On the first day, the principal told her that she could not teach health education. What they needed was a class in knitting. Let me paraphrase the conversation from that point forward with just a little poetic license. Student to principal. There are several problems with that idea, not the least of which is, I don't know how to knit. Beyond that, I came here to save the world, not to teach third graders how to knit. Principal, but these are not problems. We can teach you how to knit. And then you can teach third graders so that they can make things to sell in the markets or on the streets. And in this way, you will be helping to save the world. And so it came to be that this student made an unforeseen time investment in learning how to knit. One of the students graduating today was on a team this last summer in Ghana, and I don't actually think this is a story of one of these students, but someone else who was on the team. But if you recognize the story, then indeed it's about you. Upon arrival, he learned that the Ghanaian government had not yet approved his team's research project. As a result, he spent weeks in Ghana with nothing to do, as team leaders scrambled to put together an alternative project. There was a lesson here that he appreciated only later in the summer when he visited a refugee camp in Europe. There he found himself among people torn from their lives and living day after day in the confined monotony of a refugee camp. Witnessing their plight, he realized that all of those weeks of his unforeseen time investment in doing nothing in Ghana had given him a level of empathy for the plight of refugees that he did not have when he left Duke a few months earlier. Had a stalled project in Ghana not forced him into weeks of doing nothing, he would have missed the pain that stems from being a refugee trapped in a camp with nothing but time on their hands. Stories like these abound. Each one of the graduates sitting here has one, or many. And amid all the well-deserved accolades and pomp and circumstance of this weekend, I wanted to call your attention to this part of a Duke education in global health. Now, with apologies to you parents, I also wanted to say to these graduates that there are indeed times when you should not listen to your parents, or, for that matter, to your professors. We might tell you that you can't save the world, but the fact is that we are counting on you to do so. As we send you out yet again into the world, this time for more than 8 weeks, I want to remind you that to save the world, you might have to take up knitting, or perhaps practice the virtue of doing nothing, because the world is full of people, people are difficult, and saving the world is work that takes time. Or, as one of your junior colleagues put it so wonderfully, work that requires unforeseen time investments. And with that, although we will have another occasion to do this in a few minutes, I would like everyone to join me in congratulating the class of 2017.